Moving on to the NFC North, though, let's go and start off with a team that was a little bit down from the season previously, the Detroit Lions, where I said Aidan Hutchinson would record 15 plus sacks, get an all-pro nod, and is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. So a big 3-for-1 for Aidan Hutchinson in my predictions. Reality, not just 14 and a half sacks, falls a half sack short of my prediction. Played in all 17 games, received second team All-Pro, and was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, finishing fourth behind Nick Benito, Will Anderson, obviously the winner, Myles Garrett. So falls just short of my prediction by literally half a sack, but I got the All-Pro nod. I got the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Just barely missed it with the sacks. I think this is, again, one of those like close ones with JSN where it's like, do I kind of want to give it to myself or being right there and almost getting it? But that's kind of besides the point. I'll pass the baton to you, though, with talking about this before we actually started. Sam LaPorta ends up being tight end one in yards and receptions. Again, this is another one of those ones I knew the justification beforehand. Reality, Sam played in 9 games, recording 489 yards, 22nd in the league, 40 receptions, 23rd. And Trey McBride was tight end one across the board.
Trey McBride almost led the NFL in receptions. That's what's crazy. Like, I know Puka just barely got him, and that's on a crappy team he did that. So it was pretty impressive out of Trey McBride. I don't know, man. Sam LaPorta, man, he burst on the scene, had a massive season, and now, like, the following seasons have just been a little bit of a disappointment. Obviously, we know injuries are always going to fall back on things like this, but I will continue to do this. I will continue to do this. Coaching is everything in the NFL, in my opinion. You look at the season that Caleb Williams had this year with his head coach and where he came from and the struggles of that franchise since that offensive coordinator has left. And it just is what it is. And that's why I continue to believe there was never one time ever that the 49ers matched up against the Cowboys that I was ever worried, because I knew that Kyle Shanahan would run laps around Mike McCarthy. That's just what I knew that. I just knew he was a better coach. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, the reason why I get nervous about 49ers Rams games is Sean McVay's a hell of a coach. Mike McDonald apparently is a hell of a coach. Like, those are the things that make me nervous. Like, the 49ers playing the Eagles, I ain't worried about it. Nick Sirianni, you know what I mean? So it's just, coaching is everything for young players. Coaching is everything for consistency. And obviously with Sam LaPorta, I think you've seen injuries take a toll, inconsistent coaching take its toll, but hopefully he can bounce back next year with a big season.
Yeah. If you looked at not last year's advanced analytics, but the year before that, you saw a lot of really good things you want to see out of advanced analytics when it comes to Sam LaPorta. His year one was identical to his year two. So we thought he was going to kind of follow it up. Again, didn't really, only played in 9 games. So kind of goes along with it as well. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings, though. I said that Justin Jefferson would lead the league in touchdowns. Not only that, but with 15 plus. He played full 17 games and caught a grand total of two touchdowns for the entire year. We can go round and around on that one, but which, we'll talk a little bit about, why. But Devontae Adams, Trey McBride, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dallas Goedert, T. Higgins round out the top 5 for receiving touchdowns. Wasn't even close. Again, the justification there is it's Justin Jefferson. And I thought he was going to come out and he was going to do big things like Justin Jefferson does, because he wants it and he wants to eat. And it was almost like on the back of the big season that Jamar Chase had, he was going to come back for his crown and make sure that everyone knew he was still wide receiver number 1. So that was a lot of the justification there. For your prediction, you said the Minnesota Vikings would receive a top 10 pick on the back of JJ McCarthy's poor quarterback play, which Minnesota owns the 19th pick in the draft. I mean, so half of it, not so much, but the JJ McCarthy stuff is right on the nose. I'll let you take the reins on the rest of the JJ stuff. I won't go into the stats too much. So obviously we kind of know the justification, but what's the justification there for JJ?
They sound like they're open to moving him this offseason. Like I mentioned, that the Mac Jones noise, which would be funny if they did that after just doing that with Sam Darnold. But ultimately, I think what it comes down to in terms of justifying what I said was going to happen is this defense is just too good. You know what I mean? Like the defense was too good to get them into the top 10. But at pick 19, you're in that football hell a little bit where you're not really getting a player at pick 19 that's going to change the landscape for you immediately.
Right.
Um, and so they have a big decision to make. Like I said, you and me, this 2 or 3 years group of quarterbacks, wide receivers, edge rushers, cornerbacks, you and me put in so much work on them. I watched damn near every college game that JJ McCarthy played. And there was a couple times where I saw it and I still think it's there, but I don't know if the Vikings are going to give it the time to try to work out and turn him into what I think he could be. And ultimately that's the way in the league right now. Like these sitting for years and years and having Alex Smith 7 bad seasons to try to figure it out. It doesn't exist anymore. If you don't provide instant impact for your team, they move on. And we've seen that over and over again. So they got a big decision in front of them this offseason with what they're going to do, if they're going to bring in strong competition next to him, if they're going to move off of him. We'll see. But where they're sitting currently in a 19th pick is just not going to be good enough to reboot them right away, especially if they're going to move Justin Jefferson.
Having a conversation about the sitting years and years stuff, do you think people like, I mean, obviously he wasn't sitting the whole time on and off of the field, but do you think a guy like Sam Darnold is kind of changing the narrative for it right now?
It's not just Sam Darnold. It's Sam Darnold. It's Baker Mayfield. It's Daniel Jones. It's players all over the place. And oftentimes when you look at winning situations, if you took Bryce Young tomorrow and you traded him to the Chiefs, you know what I mean? And I'm not even talking about the talent because there's really not that much talent on the Chiefs. Like Travis Kelce is old. Obviously, if you put him on the Rams, if you put him on the 49ers, like all these, like if JJ McCarthy started next season for the 49ers, like he's not Brock Purdy. But even then, Brock Purdy, if you put Brock Purdy on the Panthers, what happens to Brock Purdy? I'm not so sure. You know what I mean? I think the last quarterback to actually sit and learn was Jordan Love, right?
Yeah.
And he's been good-ish. He hasn't accomplished a ton in the playoffs or whatever. So I don't really know. If you said, hey, Drew, you're the king of the Vikings, what are you going to do? I don't know what I would do in that situation. I would say, no, you make the decision and I'll come on the internet and talk about it. I prefer that role. So I'm not exactly sure what you do there.
Yeah, I mean, on the back of the Jordan Love stuff too. I mean, we just talked about the coaching stuff, and you look at Malik Willis and the situation that he was in this past season and the stuff that he did. He's going to go out and he's probably going to go get signed by someone with the hopes of maybe starting a couple of games or maybe getting a bit of an opportunity, especially in a quarterback class that's a little bit weaker for the draft. Again, all comes down to coaching, just like you were saying. Moving on to the Bears, though, I said that the Bears pass rush would struggle and they would trade for a Mr. Trey Hendrickson, who obviously immediate justification is trade talks, right? You have a struggling team who wants to win, and you have a guy who wants out, and you have pieces to move around. The Bears kind of felt like a landing spot for me. Reality of the situation, Bears did rank 22nd in sacks. Their pass rush did struggle. They didn't struggle with takeaways, I'll tell you that much. But 22nd in sacks. But Trey Hendrickson only played 7 games and stayed put in Cincinnati for now. And on the back of, I always like to plug Cowboys mistakes on the back of the takeaways thing. The guy who's leading the defensive backs was former defensive backs coach for the Dallas Cowboys, which of course we let him walk and whatnot. So, typical. But for you said Caleb Williams was going to lead the league in interception, but he would throw for 4,000 yards, which is a big deal because Bears have not had a 4,000-yard passer in their history, and they are still unfortunately waiting, just missing out by 58 yards. Caleb threw literally just short of it. Only threw 7 picks, though. Wasn't really close to leading the league in interceptions. Those go to a couple other honors. League leader was Geno Smith himself, followed up by Tua and a couple other guys behind him. But end of the day, when you have a wrong prediction, I feel like you want it to go this way instead of the other. I'll let you justify it.
Yeah, obviously, when you predict somebody for a certain amount of yards and they miss it by 50, it's still a pretty good prediction.
Yeah.
It's just 4,000 yards seems to be the benchmark nowadays. And I really thought that I think what I predicted for Caleb Williams in terms of that offense and hucking the ball downfield and really just cutting loose and letting loose, I think it played out exactly how I predicted. He just was a little better than I expected in that role. Again, we did so much work on these quarterbacks and the belief in Caleb Williams, and then, me and you arguing back and forth with Drake May and Jaden Daniels. And last season, I won that argument thoroughly. And now this season, Drake May comes back with a vengeance. So it's just,
Yep.
I have had a belief in Caleb Williams this whole time, and you get a good coach in there, and look at where we're at. When you hear the words Matt Nagy, whatever, as head coach or defensive coordinator or any of that, it just, some of these guys, you just know from the jump, it's not going to lead to good things with the super young, exciting quarterback. So I do thoroughly believe that he's going to pass that 4,000 mark next year. I think he's probably going to crush it. And I do think that there's going to be seasons where he throws a ton of interceptions. So this prediction may pan out to be true eventually, just not this season.
Yeah, you can make the same exact prediction for next year, and it's still a good prediction at the end of the day. Moving on to the last team in the division, the Green Bay Packers, where I had a big swing at this one. Didn't quite hit there. Big belief in a backup running back, Marshawn Lloyd out of USC, poaches away from Josh Jacobs and scores 8 times was my prediction. Josh Jacobs was in the top, 10? 5? It's top 10 because he's not top 5. He's top 5, or sorry, top 10 in his red zone touchdowns. So didn't quite hit there. And then on the back of that as well, Lloyd didn't play at all last season. He didn't get activated until week 16, 15, 16-ish. He's constantly been battling multiple ailments, preseason hamstring injury, ankle injuries that landed on him on IR, and then appendicitis surgery. So not sure what the future is for Marshawn Lloyd, a talented running back that I really liked coming out of college. So I'm not sure where the future really holds for him, especially with the Green Bay Packers. And Emmanuel Wilson kind of has hold on second place right now behind Josh Jacobs. So this is more of just, I like the running back and I wanted him to succeed than anything else. Drew's been gearing up for this one.
That's my crown. That's my LeBron James crown. King me, baby.
Packers trade for Micah Parsons was the prediction. Obviously, this is before the Micah trade. There was whispers and rumors about a whole bunch of stuff, but he got that one right.
Did you ask me a question? Sorry, I lost you in my celebration there.
Not good. Packers trade 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons on August 28th, 2025. Parsons ends up signing a 4-year, $188 million contract immediately after. Parsons unfortunately ended his year injured, but was 5th still in Defensive Player of the Year voting. But the biggest part of this is the prediction that Drew got right. Take the reins.
Ultimately, this wasn't too hard when you looked at the landscape of the NFL, who had the picks, who had the young talent that didn't need the picks, and who had the cap space. There's really only 3 or 4 teams that this made sense to. And a couple of the teams, I remember I did a whole little spreadsheet thing on this because I just felt strongly that Micah Parsons was going to get moved.
Right.
And the 2 of the teams were garbage. So why would they trade for him and give up the picks? They wouldn't. And it really just came down to 1 or 2 teams. And I thought the Packers were poised to make a move. Note on this, as I'm not going to bask in the glory too much of the one prediction I got right.